Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bowl Central. Hey, have you ever wanted to be a starfighter pilot in the Star Wars universe? Well, you've had plenty of opportunities over the years. Let's be honest. Going all the way back to the original X-wing versus Tie Fighter series, up through the Rogue Squadrons series, even into something like Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, the newer ones, the much loathed Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. And that's kind of an applicable comparison, the Battlefront games to Star Wars Squadrons here, because it's made by EA. EA still holds the license to Star Wars, so EA is the distributor and the overlord of all Star Wars gaming properties. But I do believe that first of all, this is a $40 game, okay? Here in America. Comparable pricing, I'm sure, wherever you're from if you're not from America. So it's on the cheap end anyway. It's not a full $60 game, you know what I mean? So right there, that sets your expectations for an experience that's maybe on the lower end of actual time spent. You know what I mean? The longevity of the game. But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. First of all, there's really no loot boxing issues to speak of. There's no loot boxing at all. All the cosmetics, all the upgrades that you're going to find in the game, you purchase with currencies that you earn, from actual play. So that's a nice touch. A little bit of old school, non-blatant consumerism other than the purchase of the game. That's nice. But other than that, it's got two things going for it. It's got a good story, and it's got a good multiplayer component. The multiplayer is really the standout, if you ask me. There's only two game modes. There is a dogfight mode, and then there's kind of like a dual breakthrough mode where you're kind of each squadron, Imperial and New Republic, are trying to take down a larger capital ship from the other team, so you have to kind of coordinate as a squadron, which can be a little tricky if you don't have friends to hook up with. If you're hooking up with a bunch of strangers, that can be a little tricky, so the regular dogfight mode might be your best way to go. There's several maps for that, but, it doesn't matter if you're playing the story or if you're playing this multiplayer mode. What you're going to find is quite a bit of depth to each of these starfighters. Each side, Imperial and New Republic, gets 4 different classes of the same variety: bomber, interceptor, classic starfighter, whatever it is. And the really interesting thing about this game is that it kind of really tries to simulate what it is to be inside a cockpit of an X-wing or an A-wing or a TIE fighter or a TIE interceptor. It understands the Star Wars lore perfectly. It understands the visual language of Star Wars absolutely beautifully. But that's never really been the issue with the EA Star Wars games. Visually, they've always been pretty damn faithful to the look of the films. But, I mean, just look at how lovingly this X-Wing cockpit is portrayed. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And unfortunately, I didn't get to play this in VR. You can tell this game was made for VR. If you got a chance to play this in like an Oculus Quest or a Rift or something, do it. Jesus, do it. Forget playing it on console, because this is on an Xbox One X, so just forget that if you can play it VR at all, because I'm sure it's a magical experience. But it's pretty good either way. It's cool either way. So, basic gameplay is this. You are not just firing primary weapons and, repairing your ship if needed, and firing missiles if you can get a lock on. Locking onto targets is a thing. Diverting power between shields, if your ship is carrying it, weapons, and speed. Using, if you're playing on a gamepad, using the D-pad That's really what keeps the combat going, man. Because you can boost for your speed. If you find you're getting hit a lot, you can cut power to shield, and you can even choose aft or fore shields, which is going to get the most juice behind it. You can boost. You can power slide. I mean, it's pretty in depth as far as what you would expect a cockpit starfighter blaster game to go. And it's a very very cool successor to the old great lineage of starfighter games that have come out of originally LucasArts and later developers, including EA. And just to touch on the story very briefly, the the story's fine. The story's good. It teaches you the basics of the game so that you can take it into the multiplayer arena and really kick ass there if you want to do that, right? But I find that like the story is one of those situations of too much telling and not enough showing. The story is all kind of given through conversations with NPCs that, while broadening the context of the game, don't really have any impact on the gameplay whatsoever, or the actual outcome of the game. It's a pretty linear experience, and that's all fine. I don't mind that so much, but I do find the story is limited. That multiplayer mode, though, I think that's got a lot of potential. I think this is a really, really fun Star Wars game. Is it a perfect Star Wars game? No. But it's got a lot going for it. Jeff Bulls Central is going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's a cool Star Wars game, man, and no loot boxes. Come on. What else you got to complain about? Hey everybody, one last thing, do me a favor. This is my latest novel, Love Madness Demon. It's a story of possession and romance and the angelic and the demonic and betrayal and loss and death and past lives. So much built in, so many things happen. It's like Gone with the fucking Wind or something. Someone should pay me for this. You should pay me for this. You should do it. Or just buy my book. Or sample that book. Get a move on.